Hi everyone! Well, first of all, thank you so much for clicking on this video. It actually means a lot to me. It's my first video, so I'm definitely not an expert, so please no judgment. But I just want to apologize in advance because I just watched the entire video and I realized that there's so many details missing out and I should have prepared way better, so I'm really sorry about that. But anyway, I hope you like it, I hope you enjoy it, and just leave some comments down below. Thank you! Hi and welcome to my first video. So I can't believe that I'm really doing that because this has been such a spontaneous idea. I haven't really been thinking this through, to be honest. This was like today I got the idea and here we are. Here we are just doing it because why not? Why not, right? We live in the 21st century and I just thought about free speech. You know, I could just tell you my opinions about literature. So this is about literature, by the way. Anyway, so I'm studying literature and linguistics at the same time, and I just love talking about literature, as you can see, maybe. Getting to the point, long story short, I really like to, you know, recommend you some books, and if this was a good idea, if in the end I think this was a good idea, maybe I'm even gonna do another video of, you know, analyzing some books and talking about one special book at a time. So if you maybe you're even gonna like the video, I'm not sure. So here we are in the first year of my literature courses, but I had English literature, American literature, as you could see here, for example, and also had like a feminist course, which I really liked. Yeah, so in my first course of English literature, for example, I guess that's one of the books that lots of people read in their first year of English literature was Beowulf. So I hope I can put it here. Beowulf was, you know, the oldest epic as a poem from the English literature that I had to read about, and I must say it was very difficult to read about. I only read some fragments from it, but very difficult because it's written in Old English, so I had to read of course the modern translation to modern English, so to understand it basically. Other courses that I also had was, for example, as you can see here, I had Latin literature and there we have it, Greek literature. But they are like two anthologies in English, no, in Spanish, I'm sorry, they're in Spanish. So even more difficult for me, to be honest, because in English I can, well, express myself a bit better, I guess, and read and write better. Yeah, definitely. This is maybe, I'm really trying to do this like chronologically, but I'm just gonna pick out some books, maybe like a big mix up, you know. So, talking about Greek literature, I had to read some fragments about Homer, like the Iliad and Odyssey. I don't know how you call it in English. Well, Iliad and Odyssey in Spanish. Anyway, this one is in German because I just thought to myself, like, okay, if it's like in an old language written, maybe as I'm a native in German, maybe I can understand it better in German. No, that wasn't the case. I did not understand one word of this, to be honest, in German, so I really had to read it like in Spanish, which I understood. It sounds so weird to me, but I understood it better in Spanish, because Spanish nowadays also uses some old words still, but this one in German, it's so like written with such old words that we don't use in today's terms anymore, so it was very hard for me, very difficult. But yeah, so I guess this is one of the classics. This is something that at least the story is really recommended, right? So the old Greek and Latin times. Of course, which is one of the classics that I had to read in my first year and I really loved it and I got totally inspired to read more, was Shakespeare. So here we have him. Yeah, you could see him. I'm not looking really good with a beard. Well, anyway, these are like two books, his complete works composed into two books, which I bought in Germany, but they are from an English company, I guess. I really recommend, you know, just it's Shakespeare. You know, what can you say? I don't have any other words, to be honest. It's just like Shakespeare in it. So one of the plays that I really like, for example, was the Tempest, and As You Like It, for example, very like I like the dramas, but also the comedy inside, because Shakespeare and his comedy is just like, you can't top it, can't you? It's just Shakespeare. I had to read in my second year, I guess. I don't even remember what I had to read. So many books, basically. Was Moll, Flanders by Dafoe. I guess you know him, the author's name, by Robinson Crusoe, for example. But I didn't have to read that one. I had to read that one instead, Moll, Flanders. This is like a woman fighting against the patriarchal society, finding or earning a living, basically, finding its way to be respected by society, and if not, she's gonna figure out the hard way on her own. So it has some sad stories in there, has a bit of like a, well, I wouldn't say sad ending, but in the end, well, basically, I just recommend it to understand many social parts, and that what women had to go through back in those times. Then another one, which is falls also into the same category, was by Charlotte Brontë, Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre, Gothic novel, makes me want to cringe in some situations, because I did not know. I mean, the basic story of Jane Eyre. There's also like film adaptations about it, but I must say that I have not expected so many. It's a Gothic fiction in the end, so there were some situations inside the book where I was sitting on my bed in the night, and I thought to myself, I should have read this during the daytime, because I'm a very sensitive person. But anyway, a huge recommendation, falls into the same category of feminism, and the same, Jane Eyre as being a female hero to fight against the society, fight against motherhood and womanhood, and what women have to go through, especially during that time. And still today we can compare many situations during their time with our time right now. Okay, another book to recommend in the same category was The Awakening by Kate Chopin. I don't know if you say Kate Chopin, because she was French in a bit, right? So I thought you would say Chopin, but maybe it's Chopin. Anyway, I'm not a French expert, The Awakening, sad story, to be honest, sad story, very emotional story for me personally. It took me a while to, some chapters were she uses lots of symbolism, she uses lots of metaphors that you have to really think about what it means. And what it means, the huge topic is the liberation and freedom of women, and the not following every rule or everything that the man it tells you to do. So this is like one of the first novels that really goes against it, and is for the women's fight, women's suffrage in the end. Okay, and another one that, talking about poetry again, and this goes back to an earlier century. I'm so sorry, this is a bit of a mixture. Was John Donne and his poems. I had to read some of his poems in my literature class, and he is one of the metaphysical poets, so topics are about religion, love, the spiritual, the contrast of the spiritual with religion and with the reality that we live in, and lots of new ways of thinking, like science, as we had during the King James reign. So huge recommendation, because I really personally like his poems because they're beautifully written. Here are some recommendations. I don't even know how to do that, to be honest. I'm not the great computer expert, but here's some recommendations of his poems, the titles. I guess you could see them there. I don't know. Okay, another one that I really recommend, that I had to read in one of my feminist class or courses, was The Color Purple by Alice Walker. The Color Purple is, very, very emotional, cruel experience of, slavery back in the United States. And we get to hear the story about, one of the protagonists. And the curious thing and the extraordinary thing that Alice Walker did was she was writing in that kind of dialect that the protagonist had, and you can see the uneducated English that the protagonist had, and we can see that through the writing style. So you feel and you see and you can just imagine the situation of her. And I know that they also made a movie, like a film about that with, I think it was Whoopi Goldberg. But the book, reading the book in that kind of language and the letters that she was writing to her sister and backwards, very emotional. And yeah, it really, like The Awakening a bit, was just a very emotional journey as a reader as well. Okay, another recommendation is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. It's one of the classics. You know, what can you say? You always have heard about the story about Frankenstein, right? I mean, there's so many films about that. But I guess when I read the novel, I was very surprised. I was very surprised about how sad and romantic it is, actually. And I know it sounds weird, but I think I know that there's so many people out there who are actually, you know, emphasizing with the monster in the end. And I guess I did in the end as well, so huge recommendation. Anyway, one of the last ones that I wanted to recommend to you that I'm currently reading is, well, I had another course of American literature, this book for example, and what I'm currently reading, which is about the literary movement, realism and naturalism, is Henry James' Daisy Miller. It's about an innocent, naive American young girl who turns out to be against the European customs and manners and how society has to behave. So she is like the typical stereotyped, free, liberated, naive American girl who talks to just everybody, but which is not very probably seen in European culture. So many people say that she was not innocent in the end. She was just trying to flirt, just, you know, to be an American flirt and to enjoy her time over there, but not respecting European culture. But the author himself and many others say that she was in the end just naive and innocent, and she did not know what to do. She was just, you know, missing a bit of the company. Anyway, I don't want to go too much into that, as I already did. I'm so sorry. But this was just a little recommendation of some books that I really liked over the time. I really hope you liked it, and I mean, tell me some opinions, you know, just share with me some comments about if you have read some of the novels, if you have read some of the works, even the poetry. I would be very interested about the poetry. Thank you so much for watching, and if I do another video, I guess maybe it should be about, you know, an analysis of some books. So if you want, why don't you, if you're going to write me, maybe I'm not going to have any comments about that video, but why don't you just tell me a recommendation, or just, you know, tell me what book you would like me to analyze. Maybe I've already read it, maybe I can help you out with something. I mean, I'm just a beginner. I can, you know, just help you a bit out. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. So yeah, I'm always sounding like a YouTuber. I've never thought of me saying that at all, but here we are. You know, you never know what you're in the end doing. So okay, so goodbye and see you next time.